Hello, folks. Welcome to the Genuinely Interested podcast. My name is Roy Bensby, and I'm your host. And I want to explain a little bit about the podcast before we start the show this week. This podcast is an opportunity for me to speak with some of the most interesting people I know that I can find on the internet. So, either with amazing talents or achievements or just unbelievable life stories or invaluable insights into areas that they have dedicated their lives to studying. I sit down with these amazing individuals from all across the world. Really, I've talked to people from, Slovenia to the Czech Republic to Australia to countries in Africa and South America, really just all over the world. And I try to ask them the questions that will hopefully help you extract something valuable or learn something new or just get inspired by. And I do hope that you do get inspired by these talks with some sort of a call to action, maybe change something that you wanted to change for a while, or even just enjoy, detaching from the world for an hour and listening to some great conversations. So, whatever it is that you get from this, I do hope that you extract something from it and enjoy the conversations. All these episodes are available on all the major podcast platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Google, and the rest of them. You can also find the episodes on my website, which is roybensv.com. You can find a lot of other information about me there as well, from photos to a little bit more insights into who I am if you're interested. And, you can always go to social media. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me there. I'm pretty active on both those platforms, although the only ones I have. And I try to post regularly so you can stay up to date. And also be sure to put your email on the website. I shoot emails out with updates, news, any new current information that I have will be sent via those emails and social media platforms. So, yeah, make sure you're in the loop. And today on the podcast, I have Petr Ludwig. Petr is a keynote speaker and author of the best-selling book, The End of Procrastination. He's also the founder and CEO of procrastination.com, which is a company that applies scientific findings in neuroscience and behavioral economics to help individuals and companies in their growth. I had a blast in this conversation, to be honest. I think very quickly, Petr and I felt like we kind of already knew each other. We felt very comfortable with one another. And I think that lent itself to a very open and honest conversation with a lot of great insights and patience to listen to the other. And I really enjoyed it. I think there was a few points in the conversation where, I just let him go. And I'm so happy I did, because there was so many great insights. And I think that if you guys listen to the whole podcast, you really benefit from it. Because again, there's so many great insights into how to stop procrastination, how to start becoming a little bit more productive, and just all these little tips that I think will be very beneficial for people, especially now during COVID, especially with the Zoom fatigue and internet fatigue and just being sitting on your computer for way too long. I think there are small things that we can do throughout the day to help with that. So I'm very grateful that he came on the podcast. And right now he's in the Czech Republic. He's been living in New York for the longest time, but due to COVID, he had to leave. And, I'm sure he's eager to come back to New York at some point. But I think that's the beautiful part of this podcast, is having that opportunity to speak with someone from so far away, other side of the world, but still really connect and have a good conversation and, try to bring up good ideas that will eventually help people and the listeners. And I think that's one of the greatest things about this era of information, is that we do have access to all these conversations and content that is, I think it wouldn't have been around probably 10 years ago, even, 10, 15 years ago. A lot of the stuff would not have been around. These conversations would not have been available and were not even an option for people to have and to broadcast. You would be obstructed by, I don't know, regulatory laws and regulations, and You would have to buy ad time or whatever it is. It was just not an option so many years ago. So now that it is an option, I think people should take advantage of it as much as possible. Try to find people that you relate to, that you think add some sort of a value to your life. And yeah, start listening to those people. I'm sure you guys are already probably doing that. You don't need me telling you this, but there's new people popping up all the time. People with great insights, books, podcasts, documentaries. And, we're an evolving species. We're always learning more. I literally learned the other day about water, something that I've been drinking my whole life. All of a sudden, there's all this new information about water that I had no idea about. But it's fun to learn. It's fun to gain a new insight into something. And that's partly why I do this podcast. So I hope you do enjoy this week's episode. Guys, as always, make sure to share the podcast with your friends and family, especially if you feel like this gives you, extra value and added value. I know this specific podcast was a lot of fun for me, and I know for certain that there are a lot of tips in there that a lot of people can use, especially during these times. So I hope you enjoy the episode. And without further ado, here is this week's guest, Petr Ludwig.
The Genuinely Interested Podcast.
Hey, Petr, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very pleasured.
Yeah, man. So you're like we talked a little bit before we started recording. You've been living in New York City for a minute, but now because of Corona, you're back in your home city of Prague, right?
Right.
Yeah. And how's Prague right now?
Yeah, Prague is quite cool because we only have few cases of coronavirus here. So altogether, we have like 350 deaths. So it's almost nothing. But still, people are a little bit scared. So I think that this time is very important to share some positive information. So I do a lot of webinars about mindset and about positivity. So I'm very happy to be here with local people, and I'm trying to help them in terms of what I do, to share some positive information.
Yeah, and you miss New York?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I think that I'm already like 50% New Yorker because I spent there the last year. I spent like 9 months in New York, so most of my time I was there, and I love the city. I'm living in Fidei in near World Trade Center, and if I wake up and if I see the skyline of New York, of Manhattan, it's amazing. So I'm amazed every day to be there, and I'm very happy that my book was published there. So I have two lives, one in Prague and the second in New York.
Yeah, I feel like that's like half of New York. There's so many people that come here, even locally, right? They'll come from other big cities, or other states, and there's people that come from all over the world. It's that city of dreams. So many people grew up on it, that if you want to succeed or if you want to make it big, like that's the city of dreams.
Exactly.
And that's why so many people come here. But now, I think because of COVID, that kind of allowed people to take a minute and say, do I actually need to live here? Like I could actually be in Prague, or I can be in Montana or Texas, still accomplish my dreams because now I have the internet and we have Zoom meetings and I can do just as well. I think that kind of opened a lot of doors for people to see things differently and not necessarily have a brick and mortar because they have to be next to their office type of situation.
Exactly. It's also our case because I have a company of 35 people, and what we do is that we do big conferences, and we have 5 big conferences every year, and we had to cancel all of them. So we switched everything into online. So we do webinars now, and it was quite challenging. But now I have to say that the shift from offline to online, it has opened us a few new channels. So basically, the company is even a little bit more successful than the company was the last year. So basically, the COVID was a huge problem to us, but we switched the mindset, we switched the way of our work. Now we, like most of our people, are at a home office, but somehow it works because people are quite open to listen to online content.
Yeah, I mean, and the reach that you can have online is much
Exactly, yeah.
larger. If you book a venue in Moscow that holds, let's say, 10,000 people, you could do a webinar that holds 1 million people, whatever it is. It's
Exactly, yeah.
unlimited, and you can reach much more people, have just more impact.
And that's why I love podcasts, because I think the podcast is the best way how to spread the knowledge around the world. And for example, my channel is growing like 5 times every year. So I truly believe that the future is about podcasts.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I want to listen to your podcast, but I can't because you have it in Czech. I've been trying to get it,
Yeah.
but it's impossible. My Czech is I'm a little rusty.
No, I promise you that the next year I will do more episodes in English, because I want to do more episodes in English because it has larger impact. That's the only way for me to, because I want to have impact on the whole world. I just don't want to change one small country, because I truly believe, for example, I'm working on a new book about critical thinking. And what I feel is that these days critical thinking is a key topic, because it's like underlying pattern under all those big topics, like under climate change, under all those fights and fake news around coronavirus. And I think that critical thinking is the key skill for 21st century. So, for example, I'm working on a new book, and I want to have a large impact with the book. So that's why I want to switch everything in English too.
Yeah, I mean, it just right now, it's if we had a conversation. I have a neighbor who's French, and we were watching this French show, and there were so many big stars, French, stars in this show, and I didn't know any of them. But if you're French, you would know them because they're massive stars in France. And it's so different. Like you could be the biggest star in your own country, right? Like France,
Right,
Spain,
yeah.
whatever it is. But the rest of the world doesn't know you. But if if you're a star in the US, and I think it's because the US has that reach, but it's also the English aspect. Like most of the world speaks some form of English. And
Right.
if you're a star here, whether it's a podcast or movies or music, you can have that reach and be global.
Yeah, of course, it's a very humbling experience too, because when I left my home country, I was already a best-selling author, and my podcast was in top 5 podcasts in the country. And when I moved to the US, when I started from scratch in New York, I was no one there. And basically, I had to build my own brand there. And it was a very humbling experience, but it was worth, because it was outside of my comfort zone. So I had to push myself again. And somehow I think that this part of my life story was very important in terms of my ego, in terms of my own humbleness.
Yeah. But what kind of people do you usually have on your podcast?
Well, it's very wide scale of people, because I have some entrepreneurs, I have some like medical doctors, I have some Boy Scouts, basically people with strong values and with strong purpose in life. So whenever someone has passion for something, and the thing is somehow connected and somehow is changing the world a little bit, those are my guests mostly.
Yeah. I want to know a little bit more about you. Maybe give me some background. Where'd you grow up? How did you get into the field that you're currently in?
Yep. I grew up here in Czech Republic, and my background is that I have my major in computer science, and then I was studying law. So I was studying 2 very difficult universities. But during my studies, I started my own business. So I started my own consulting company. And shortly, I realized that the key topic to me is procrastination, because what I realized that not just me, but all my employees or all my friends around me, they had some struggles with procrastination. And in that time, I started to read all those scientific papers about procrastination, and I was trying to connect all those dots for myself. And when I realized that this is not just my case, but it's quite a global problem, the procrastination. So I had the opportunity to do some keynotes about procrastination because I was entrepreneur. I was quite young, so I had so many opportunities to have a keynote at some conferences here. And it was like 14 years ago. So I have my own company for 14 years now. And let's say 10 years ago, a publisher approached me and he asked me, like, do you want to write a book? And I was like, okay, let's try that. And you can understand how difficult it is when you procrastinating writing a book about procrastination. It was twice painful to me, but I had to like use all my methods on myself. So I'm describing a few of those methods in my book. For example, one is a habit list. You set some habits and you try to stick to those habits daily. So I had my habit list for writing a book, and it was quite useful. So I have some tools and I'm using all of them, and those tools are in the book. So basically, the book is full of practical tools that me or my friends are using for, let's say, 10 years now.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm sure humans have maybe always done it, but it's happening so much more now. And it's a real problem, especially with the gadgets that we have and the emails and the social media and the endless content on podcasts and YouTube and Netflix. But you argue that it's not necessarily a time management issue.
Yeah, it's more emotional management issue because procrastination is kind of like addiction, for example. So, and addictions are about positive emotions. So, for example, like Facebook or Instagram, they are investing a crazy amount of money to be addictive, to have a timeline for you that is like full of stories or full of content that really have a very strong impact on your emotions. So that's why they are investing crazy amount of money, and it's not our problem that we are addicted, because they are employing the best scientists from Harvard or some other addictologists to make Facebook and other social media addictive because they have money out of that. So it's not just our problem, it's a problem of the environment. And at the end, procrastination is also connected by distractions, and we are always distracted. At work, people are working in open space offices, or we are always distracted with those notifications and so on. So really, to fight procrastination is a key skill for surviving in 21st century. We have the same brain as people like 2,000 years ago. Brain didn't evolve that much in the last 2,000 years. But if you look around, the surroundings, the world that we are living in is very different, very complex, and very fast, and with all those distractions. So for me, it's the only way how to survive is to really know how to fight procrastination.
Yeah. I feel like we're as humans, we're so I don't want to use the word weak, but we're very prone to addiction, right? Every time there's something new that comes along, it's cigarettes, it's alcohol, it's fast food, it's I don't know, binge watching stuff, and then social media. But for all those things, there are groups that help you, and the only way for recovery is never to touch them, right? Like they say with alcohol, or drugs, like you can't do it ever again. But with social media, it's this double-edged sword, because on the one hand, you use it, I use it, everyone uses it. It's a way for us to freely, it's not that free anymore, but freely promote ourselves and get our work and our, content out there. But on the other hand, we consume it on such a rate that it often takes up from actually doing the work that we need to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
So
it's like how is it not a time management issue? And I do understand that obviously we are addicted to it because they just they rewire our brains. They triggered us to a point where like, oh, I have to see what so and so is doing on Instagram and on Facebook and on Twitter. But like, even if, let's say, okay, so I guess my question is, even if we have the tools, right? Like because we know like we're spending too much time on it. Like I think everyone knows deep down, like I'm spending way too much time on this, but we still do it.
Of course, it's also time management issue, and I want to share a quick tool with you. It's called Forest. And Forest,
okay.
yeah. And basically, it's a very simple app. You set a amount of time, let's say 30 minutes, and then you plant imaginary tree. And now the tree is growing. And if you exit the app, the tree dies. And you don't want to kill that tree because then you have the whole forest and you don't want to have their dead trees. So it's amazing app for your focus, because now I know that I don't want to like use other apps, because if I do that, the tree dies.
But so this is an imaginary tree, though, right? They're not burning.
This imaginary tree, yeah, it's imaginary tree, but somehow it works because you have your empathy towards your imaginary tree, and more healthy trees you have, the more you really want to stay focused. So, for example, I have a huge forest, and I have none of that tree. So, for example, now I really don't want to have the first that tree there. So, this is an amazing app. It's called Forest. And if I really want to do something, if I want to write, if I want to focus on something, I use this app and it works perfectly to me. So you can try that. It's for free and the name is Forest.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, and for people that couldn't see, there's like a timer, and once you press the timer, the time goes down, and I guess you have to get off the social media apps before the time is up, and therefore no trees in the Amazon will be harmed.
Yep.
Okay,
so
cool.
And you have so many other tricks how to stay focused. For example, what works to me is that if I'm writing, I'm working on a new book, and I'm writing in one cafe, and they don't have internet connection there. So it's quite cool to be there without Wi-Fi, because then you really have to work. So some people, they really like to work, for example, in trains, because if you are in a train, then you can focus because you don't have internet connection again sometimes. So it's always about coming up with some like hacks for yourself, and how to get rid of all those distractions. And what I recommend you to switch off all those notifications, because notifications is a invention of hell, because it always destroying your focus. So I don't have any. Okay, now I cannot show you because I have the Forest app on. But but normally I have no badges, I have no notifications, and I am really using the phone when I want to, not when others want to, but when I want to, and that's the huge difference.
Yeah, we've kind of become slaves to our phones.
Exactly.
It's a weird thing where I wonder where this is evolving to, 50, 100, 200 years from now. Like, are we just going to sink in and become one with technology where it's going to be a part of us, like Elon Musk says? Or are we going to, I think there's a growing number of people that are fed up with it. It's like, oh, there's too much of it. And, there's Zoom fatigue and tech fatigue, and they're going to tech detoxes. But then on the other hand, there's people that are just obsessed with it, and they want more. And like I've seen some people that they put a chip in their finger so they can open the door in the house, and all these different things. I don't know. It's weird to see. I think just like any other topic, we're very split on this thing, and there are those people that are going to become RoboCops maybe in 200 years. And then people that are just going to find a cabin in the forest and just completely go off the grid.
Exactly, whatever makes you happy. For example, for me, I do a long vacation every year. I go to Japan for 1 month, and I did that 6 times. So I spent there more than half a year altogether. And this year is the first year I'm not going there because of COVID-19, of course. But long vacation, like 4 weeks, is amazing because it really restarts your willpower again. And then you have like 3 times more power for other projects when you are back. So I do that every year, and it's amazing. So it's my hack how to like improve my focus and willpower, is to really, really go in very different environment, because living in New York is overwhelming sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I have headaches because the city is very loud. And everyone is honking all the time. New York is crazy. But being in Japan, somewhere in mountains or in some old temples, it really helps me to like get some like deeper ideas. And sometimes after 2-3 weeks, I can go for a walk for a few hours without any new ideas popping up in my mind. And it's amazing because you are in the present moment, you are mindful. And for my happiness, this is the way how I can then do what I do. So 1 month in Japan, and then I can have my crazy life between New York and Prague.
Why specifically Japan?
Because Japan is amazing in terms of food. I love Japanese food. So not just sushi, they have many other kinds of delicious food. Then very, very kind people. You never have any negative emotions there because everyone is so kind, and you have the best level of service, for example. So you always get a perfect service, even though if you are in a small village or if you pay the cheapest hotel there, still you have perfect service. So that's why I love Japan. And it's a very safe place to be because the crime level is compared to New York. So nothing.
Ridiculous.
And they have a beautiful nature too. So I love to go for some hikes in mountains. So they have like their Japanese Alps near the city of Nagano, and it's amazing. It's so beautiful, and it's very empty. And you have those hot springs there, so you can have a hot bath and just relax there. And onsens, right? Onsens are great.
Yeah.
It's my most favorite activity in Japan, to stay a few days in onsens somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I was there earlier this year, and
cool.
First time ever. I went snowboarding there, so we went there for like 10 days, me and a friend, and we went up to Hokkaido, and it was absolutely amazing. It was just such an experience. The food was, like you said, the food was great. People, everyone was really nice. It's almost like the Switzerland of Asia. In a way, like everything's very clean and orderly, and like you said, the onsens, which are the hot springs. It was funny because I have tattoos, and like they told me when I got to the hotel, they were like, "All right, you have to pay an onsen tax," and I was like, "Okay, no problem." And then I told them, like, I have tattoos. Is that a problem? They're like, "Yeah, you can't go in with tattoos." And I was like, "Okay," and she was like, "But you still have to pay the tax." I was like, wait, so I can't go in, but I still have to pay the tax? She was like, yes. I was like, all right. And then I still went in. It was just like, they kind of just, they don't really look at it, but like technically I wasn't supposed to go, but I was like, I'm not giving this up. I'm definitely going to go. It's a beautiful, like outside area. Like you overlooking the mountains. I was like, I'm not giving this up.
Yeah, because I really love the way how they respect rules. For example, for Japanese, it's very, very difficult to step outside of some rules or system. And I was playing in a punk band when I was in high school, and I always loved to like step outside of things, being outside of the box. And being in Japan, it's very funny because like there are lines everywhere. People are waiting for something in very like strict lines. And me, as being a punk, I always like do those little details that are like outside of the box. And it's so funny to me that like I understand that they have to do that way because Tokyo is like 3 times bigger than New York is. So they have to be in lines because without lines, they can be in complete mess and chaos. But for me, I was always thinking for myself to be a systematic pank. Those are my two core values, because I love system. I love having everything in order, but I really like to do crazy things and improvise and being different. So I was always wishing to myself to be just in the middle, being systematic bank. So it's quite in opposite, but it works to me.
Yeah, no, you literally just described me. That's literally me. If you asked my wife to describe me, that's exactly how she would describe me.
Cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's go back a little bit and talk about, I think we as humans, we know what we're supposed to do, right? Like, we know that we should be eating well, and we know that we should be getting off the social media or not using it as much, and we know that we shouldn't be smoking, and we should be exercising, and if we want to have a better life, we should, put more effort in creative development and work in the type of job that we want to work. But yet we constantly sabotage ourselves by doing the opposite of what we need to do in order to get to our goals. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is?
I think that if you read some scientific papers about procrastination, then you realize that there are two main causes of procrastination. First is lack of motivation, intrinsic motivation. So basically, you are lost. You don't know what to do. You don't have your life vision, because one of the main causes of that is what is called decision paralysis. Like the more choices you have, the more difficult it is to choose out of them. So the first solution for fighting procrastination is to work on your intrinsic motivation. Basically, I recommend to people to use a white blank piece of paper and just write down their life vision, like what they really want to do in their personal life, in their professional life. And I recommend them to focus on their strengths and how to use those strengths to have positive impact on others. So, for example, for me, the core of what I'm doing is that I'm helping others to have strong purpose. So my purpose is to help others to have purpose. And it works perfectly to me because I'm getting many emails and many messages from people around the world that my book and my work really help them. So I'm very fulfilled and I love what I do. So I don't procrastinate it because it's my key hobby to have positive impact. So the key solution of how to spark intrinsic motivation is to uncover your strengths and use those strengths to have positive impact, not just on the whole world, but for example, for someone, it's to have an impact on his or her community or family or colleagues or clients. But at the end, you should be proud of what you are doing. And being proud means that you know that you are skilled and you know that it has impact. And that's in a very opposite what I'm experiencing in New York. I live 3 blocks from Wall Street, and what I experience there is that people are disconnected, or they are working in those big banks. They have quite a lot of money. They have the best universities, but what I feel is that they lack purpose. They don't believe in what they are doing because they are just somewhere improving some numbers, but at the end, it has no exact impact, a positive impact on the world. So the solution for fighting procrastination, the first thing is to find a strong life vision and focusing on purpose and meaning in life. And the second main cause of procrastination is willpower, lack of willpower. So basically, you can strengthen your willpower in the long term because we have a lot of evidence that the willpower works like muscle. So if you do 20 push-ups daily, and if I scan your brain on brain scan with fMRI, what you realize is that not just your muscles are growing, but even your prefrontal cortex, the frontal part of the brain is growing, and this part of the brain is evolved. It has evolved for willpower. So you can really change your willpower in time. So and the best way how to do that is to exercise. So there is a lot of evidence. If you exercise more, then you have stronger willpower, and then you have stronger willpower even in other domains. For example, at work, or you can self-regulate better if you have arguments with your girlfriend, for example, and so on. So basically, to train willpower is a key for fighting procrastination. But at the end, you need both. You need the vision and you need the action. And I really love one Japanese proverb that really summarizes my whole book. And it follows like this. Vision without action is a daydream, and action without vision is a nightmare. And for me, in this proverb, there are two main problems that people usually have. They have vision without action. Well, vision without action, it's real dream or daydream. And you have so many people that they want to start their own business, but they never start. You have so many people that are talking about running and they never go for a run. But what is even worse is the second part of the proverb. Action without vision. Those are those people in those big banks and big corporations. They are working on something, but they don't see a real meaning of that. So at the end, if you want to fight procrastination or if you want to have a fulfilled life, I truly believe that you need both. You need strong life vision and then you need action. And it was summarized by Angela Duckworth in her book Grit. And she's writing there that you need both. You need passion and persistence. So the passion is the vision and the persistence is the willpower, the action part. So it's really like it clicks together, those two domains, and then you are happy. So
that was
the summary of all my work.
No, man, that was beautiful. I was like entrenched now listening to that. So what is it? I remember I had a CPG company, and we would get emails, about people that loved our product, and it helped them, or they just loved it, when they got up in the morning and they would drink it. But that was about a product that we made. How does it feel to get an email from someone who says, you maybe changed my life, or, thank you so much because now I procrastinate less, or I'm doing more with my life because of you? How does that feel like?
It's the strongest feeling ever. For example, I have one letter for one guy, and he wrote me that he was in the situation when he was very depressed. He was thinking about suicide, and then he read my book and he started new work. And I then met him in person, and he wrote me that our meeting changed his life, and I'm very humble. Like, for me, it's huge. For example, I know that my book has around 400,000 copies sold. So, and even if 1% of those people had some positive change in their life after reading my book, it would be for me huge. So, and I'm focusing on all those stories because someone changed his or her job, someone start to run, someone, I don't know, start to work on him or herself. But at the end, what I truly believe is that we all have to do something meaningful. And in this world that is full of hate or full of division in societies, I truly believe that we should work together on improving the world. So that's why I'm working on a new book. And the new book will be about critical thinking and about how to argue with people in a nice way, how to respect others with different opinions, and so on. And I truly believe that this is the key to survive on this planet for the future.
So I'm happy to get into this a little bit, because I feel like recently I'm seeing more and more, especially on social media, there is a lack of conversation, and it's more about Also, you see this in the news. I think the news is to blame for this, but the news picks a side and they stay with that side ideologically. And if it's something that is left leaning, the left leaning networks will cover it in a certain way, and the right wing network will cover it in a completely different way, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
And we start to choose camps. And because of Twitter and Facebook, we have those echo chambers, so we don't really listen
Exactly.
to anybody with with a differing opinion. And what happens is we get this self-congratulating thing where wherever we say something that empowers our camp, we start getting claps and likes, and everyone loves us, and we're like, "Oh wow, this is amazing! This is I'm so smart." Because no one really challenges me on these ideas, and if someone does, then he gets slammed by all the followers that you have, and it's not something that is conducive to making or creating good conversations, and we're hating each other more and causing more division. And I see, and again, this is on both sides of the political spectrum.
Exactly. Yeah. And my answer for that is that democracy or democratic discussion is not fight. It's the way how to understand others. It's the way how to uncover the truth together, and not how to fight. And you have a lot of fighters on social media, as you said, on both sides, and they are both doing the bad thing. So always, whenever you fight, you are doing bad things. So and for me, I feel like
And
being
social media is in your town square.
Yeah, I take myself as a global citizen, and I think that the future will be difficult if we live in divided societies, because you feel that people are divided not just in the US, but you have many divided people by Brexit in the UK. You have many divided people in Europe, in Eastern countries.
Belarus now.
Exactly. And for me, it's quite sad, because we are all human beings. We are all quite the same. We all have like 5 fingers, and we have the same brains. And it's so sad that we live in 21st century. We experience a Second World War. We experience so many miseries, but at the end, we are doing the same mistakes. So I think that we should be able to do things that unite people and not to divide them. And you can always find things that can connect you with others. So even though he has very different opinions in politics, maybe he likes to, I don't know, he likes to play basketball as you, or you can find many similarities. And then if you find many similarities, then you can slowly tackle those things that can divide you, but after you have strong connection.
Yeah, and I feel like social media is just the worst place to have these type of conversations, because someone will put out a tweet and then you'll look at that like, oh, what is this idiot even thinking? Blah, 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 blah. And then you put out your own tweet, and then someone will retweet that saying, oh, look how so-and-so destroyed so-and-so. And it's just, none of it is in any way, shape, or form a good way to have a conversation, because you're limited in the amount that you can say. And
I have one remark for this. For example, there's a huge difference for me being on Instagram, because if someone is commenting your Instagram stories, it goes directly to you, and all those people are very polite, and I have almost no hate on my Instagram. But if you compare the algorithm of Facebook, if you share something on Facebook, then you have those comments, and the algorithm is ranking those comments in terms of feedback. So at the end, you have the most emotional comments on top, and it really divides people. So I think that it's not just a problem of us, it's a problem of algorithms that are shaping our lives. And the algorithm of Facebook or Twitter discussion is very dangerous in terms of polarization, because it really put those diverse tweets or comments on the top levels.
Yeah, Instagram is definitely the nicest out of all the social
Yeah.
media ones. I mean, it has its own problems, but out of just not as vile as Twitter, or I don't even have I deleted Facebook like 10 years ago, so I don't have that. But
Wow.
Twitter,
That was the
yeah,
best decision in your life, man. And
yeah,
I quit email. Yeah, I don't use
really,
email. I have my personal assistant for email, so
okay,
she's answering all my emails. But I really hate email because when I have published my book, I've got like 80 emails daily, then 100, then 120, and when I replayed all those emails, I've got even more. And it was like. It was
takes
like
up your whole day.
uh, and exactly, and then I realized that I'm working on priorities of others, not on my priorities. So then I quit the email, and then I realized that yeah, I have 3-4 hours daily for what is important to me, and now I don't use email for let's say 4 or 5 years, and that was my best decision. So I have PA for that, so she's like managing everything for me. She's also managing my LinkedIn account, and I'm only on Instagram and on Facebook. So, but I'm thinking to cancel Facebook too because it's hell. Yeah, it's very very nasty environment, and Instagram is the most friendly to me.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. And even for me, like when I'm on this is I guess this is on all platforms, but I would say I would put more of an emphasis on YouTube specifically for this one. There's so many motivational influencers out there, and I don't even know how to count them. Everyone is telling you to do these type of goals, set this one, don't eat this one. There's so many motivational videos out there that are just, I feel like are, for lack of a better word, crap. Like they're just selling you snake oil. And
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
feel like specifically with this industry, there's more than ever. There's in this kind of like spiritual, motivational, new age, yoga. I don't know. There's so many diet, health and wellness, fitness. There's so many people that are telling you that this specific thing is the only thing you need in order to, be the best self that you can be, or lose weight, or get in better shape. And they're all very contradictory.
Mhm.
They'll say the exact opposite of what the other person says. And because this isn't like science specifically. I mean, it is, but there's a lot of leeway here. And there's no regulation. Everyone can say what they say, and if that's something that works for you, you can try it. But I just feel like there's so many of them that are selling you
Yeah, snake
false
oil. Yeah.
snake oil, false
Right.
motivation
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
order for you to click, in order for you to subscribe and sell and basically subscribe to their product.
Mhm.
So how do people differ? What's the way for them to try to decipher what's really good
Yeah.
and what's really not?
Again, I think that the way is to improve critical thinking and to explain people scientific method, how it works, and to ask for evidence. For example, I really love evidence-based approach in medicine. You have amazing blog that is called Evidence-Based Medicine that is written by Steven Novella. And he's using this evidence-based approach in medicine. And I'm trying to do the same in personal development because you have so many very good scientific studies, but there is a huge gap between what science knows and what people do in their daily life. So, and as you said, like 95% of information in this field of motivation is crap. It's something that is like just emotional, but without evidence. It's and I'm trying to like fight with this crap because personal development is very crucial for us. It's a very important topic. It has the same impact on your quality of your life as your health, I guess. But you have so many like low quality information. So use your critical thinking, ask for evidence, ask for studies. And what I really love to do is to use a meta-analysis. For example, they made a huge meta-analysis about procrastination. So they took all scientific studies about procrastination, and then they made a study out of those all studies. So it's something very grounded in science and is something that we can really trust to. So I'm using meta-analysis in my work, and I'm trying to explain to people the difference between one study with 10 people and with 20 studies with 20,000 people. So it's always about to understand scientific method and rationality and limits of our brains, because our brain is quite interesting and important invention, but it's also it's very flawed. Yeah, I had a talk at the conference about critical thinking, and the talk was about irrationality and about our biases. And our brain is very biased. We are always lost in those like old patterns of behavior. So, and it's very difficult to step outside of those biases. Even though you know the bias, for example, confirmation bias, your brain is trying to just pick what you really believe in and dismiss other information. And even though you know that we have this kind of bias, we all are suffering with the bias. So it's very difficult to fight with
Is
this
there a way
irrationality.
to because, like you said, it's once we get older, we're set in our ways, we have our patterns, we have our ways of thinking, and some people do change those with time. Some people are curious, about learning new ways, but a lot of people just are set in their ways. But is there a way to maybe put this in some sort of a curriculum for kids to do critical thinking and just maybe get a whole new generation to start thinking a little bit differently at a very younger age?
And this is my life mission. Truly, we already have one subject for universities that is like a blueprint that universities can use. We have like a comprehensive online system for teaching people critical thinking. But for the future, my main mission is to have really real subject for high schools and for elementary schools. About critical thinking, how to recognize fake news, how to be aware of your brain biases, how to understand the scientific method, and so on and so on. But at the end, it's all about humbleness. I think that the main enemy of our wisdom is our ego, because if you have the bigger your ego is, the more difficult is for you to admit that you are wrong or you don't know. So, and being able to make fun of yourself, being able to admit that you don't know, being able to say, well, I was wrong, is quite important for your growth. So, ego is the enemy, humbleness is the virtue, and I think that we should put kind of like humbleness substance into chemtrails and spread the substance around the world.
Chemtrails. Don't. Let's not get into chemtrails. So my niece, she's 14 years old, and because they don't have COVID now, she's very bored, right? And sorry, because they have COVID and they don't have school and they don't have all these after school programs, she's bored. She's trying to find what to do, and she's always asking me like, Roy, she's asking me like, what should I do? I'm like, I don't know. Like, what do you love? And she doesn't know. So I told her like, look, go try everything that you think that you love. And if you find something that you find that you're passionate about, stick with it. Is that the best way to do it? Just try a smorgasbord of different things until you finally find that one passion?
Yep, I think that this is the evidence-based approach how to find your passion, because people usually they don't have a strong passion at the beginning, but they have to try. So the younger you are, the more you should try new things, and then when you realize that something makes you happy, for example, in the beginning, I was playing basketball and I was playing tennis. And at the end, I realized that I really love playing basketball and I hate tennis. And I had to try that without the subjective experience. Well, who knows what you like? So it's about trying new things And if you have it, then it's a miracle. And then it's what is important is to really have persistence. For example, I'm doing keynotes for 10 years, and I still see so many imperfections that I really want to do the same in next 50 years. And I want to be the best keynote speaker in my 80s. And I really wanted to like focus on perfection. And that's why I love Japan too, because you have those sushi chefs that they are making sushi for 70 years. For example, there was a famous movie about Jiro Ono. The name of the movie, I guess, is Jiro's Dreams of Sushi. And he's 95, 96 years old, and he's doing the best sushi. He has 3 Michelin stars in Tokyo. And I love his story because his story is about finding perfection in things that you really love and you really care about. So I always wished to myself to find my own sushi, something that I really want to focus on and make perfect. And for me, presentations are my sushi, and the next sushi is writing books. So that's why I'm very passionate to write a new book, because I was writing yesterday. I spent like 4 hours writing, and I was working on a first chapter, and I'm very excited because I already have the first chapter. And that's huge because when you start, then like 50% of work is done. It's always the most difficult part is to start. So yeah, now I'm very happy because I have the first chapter, man.
That's awesome, man. I can't wait to read it when it's out. But there are those people that are. Oh, so wait, before that, when you were talking about Japan, because I noticed this as well there when I was and a little bit before when I was doing a little bit of research, but they have this striving for excellence in one particular manner, like they have the people, the swords men who make swords, and they'll have an apprentice work underneath them for something like whatever 5 or 10 years until he can start to make swords. And it's the same with ramen. They'll have like a ramen restaurant, and the apprentice has to be there for like 5 or 6 or 8 years until he can start making ramen. And the same goes with sushi and other aspects. And it's so interesting when you have someone focus on one particular thing to be the best at it and to make it the best possible thing that it can be.
Yep.
It's very interesting.
And I have a friend, and she's Japanese, and she's producing one of the best Japanese green tea. And when I was visiting her in Shizuoka, that's the city where she lives, she told me that they are producing the tea for 14th generation. So 14 generations, they are doing the same tea. And that's the definition of perfection. So I really love this Japanese concept of perfection. Of course, you only need to use the skill for what is important. To be a perfectionist in every email, at the end you are anxious because it's very difficult to be a perfectionist in all domains. But being a perfectionist in the key domain, it's the answer how to be happy and how to have that kind of state of flow. If you're doing something, time stops for you, you are immersed in the present moment. And I think that the best ingredient of this state of flow is to be perfectionist, like that Japanese sushi master.
Yeah, and I think they even have like some of the oldest hotels in the world where they've just been like generation after generation, just upkeeping the place and passing it to the next generation. I think something like, I don't remember the exact number, but like over 1,000 years old, something insane.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's a very interesting culture. Like I loved it. I definitely want to go back because all I did was northern Japan, so the northern island, Hokkaido, and I didn't get to spend much time in other parts. So maybe next year when we'll see how COVID hits. So earlier you touched on exercise, physical activity. And we discussed a little bit about willpower, and you said there's direct correlation between improving willpower to physical activity.
Right.
But that's also, there's some sort of a cap on that, right? Like it's not like the best CrossFitter has the most willpower. It's just putting that extra amount of physical activity into your day will increase your willpower to an extent.
Yeah, right. I think that there is some evidence that you don't need to go for 3 hours long run, but what works is those small or shorter periods of exercise. So, for example, to have 10 minutes exercise in the morning, then go for a walk during the workday, and then during the afternoon to have like 30 minutes of exercise. And what works is when you, for example, go for a walk, you you kick up your cardiovascular system, and your brains get some fresh new blood. And at the end, you have stronger willpower. So it's not that difficult to have those short periods of exercise during the day. And the second evidence is that willpower is based on our simple sugars in our blood. So if you eat more vegetables or fruit during the day, then you have stronger willpower too. So my best advice how to boost your productivity is to work 1 hour, then to have 10 minutes walk, then to work another hour, then to eat some fruits or vegetables, then work for another hour, and so on and so on. And if you do this daily, at the end, you realize that you can accomplish like 2-3 times more. And what is very important is to work on things that have meaning for you, because if you are in the state of flow, if you are working on something that is meaningful to you, then your willpower is not draining. It can refill. So, for example, when I'm tired, and then if I have a keynote and I'm on stage for 60 minutes, I'm less tired after the keynote than I was before. So focusing on your strengths and meaningful activities can restart your willpower during the day. So basically, you are the most drained when you are working on projects that are meaningless to you.
Wow, that's very interesting. You know, when I was, because we left New York around March and we went to Connecticut for many months, and you know it's very lush and green. So I would run outside a lot, and while I really enjoyed the runs because they were very different to the runs I was doing here because they're outside and there's a lot of elevations up and down and you're working different muscles. When I run here, I usually, we have a small gym in our building and I'll run on the treadmill, but I'm just looking at the wall in front of me. And while it's not obviously anywhere near as interesting as running outside and, you know, seeing the scenery, I do get into some sort of a flow zone because I guess there's just this wall in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm looking at. I don't watch the TV or anything. I literally just look at the wall. And a good amount of time, I'll get really good ideas, creative ideas while I'm running and while I'm like, and not in the beginning. Usually when I'm about, you know, I try to run like 3 or 4 miles, not more than that. And I would say about halfway through, I start getting like really good creative ideas.
Yep.
So yeah.
It works like that. Yeah, it's like a meditation. And when I'm in New York, I'm running around Battery Park, around FIDI, and sometimes I'm running outside, and sometimes I also have a treadmill in a gym in the apartment house that I live in. And for me, that's a very different kind of sport, right? A kind of exercise, because when you are in a gym, as you said, when you are just in the present moment and you just do the same all the time, it's maybe better in terms of your mindfulness, because you are just stuck in the present moment and you cannot like do anything else because you are on a treadmill. But if you are outside, for me, I also love to be outside because you have the energy of the city and you have the sunlight and you can meet other people and you have that kind of positive vibe that people are doing the same thing that you. So I'm always like waving to other people or other runners, and I love that kind of vibe too. So both types of exercise are quite cool.
Yeah. You know, when I first got back, I went to McCarran Park here, which is like a big park in Williamsburg, and it was packed. I mean, forget like social distancing. I'm telling you, and everyone looked just ripped. It's like, it's like, what have I been doing this whole time? It seems like everyone's just, because I guess gyms are closed, everyone's training outside. The park was absolutely packed. So I guess it's one of those, you know, Corona is a funny thing because I think, they put gyms out very low on obviously restaurants have to open first, and then they have a list of priorities, what should open first and what should open last. But I do think gyms are very important, for martial arts to yoga to just the regular gym.
Yeah,
They are very important to our mental well-being, obviously physical, but like I said, those are attached. And it's a shame
exactly.
that it's a
Yeah.
shame that those have not been open, and a lot of them will probably go under because they're not going to be able to sustain themselves. But I do see a lot of people just outside training because it's food for the soul. It's something that a lot of people have to do to just stay sane, especially with 15-hour work days on Zoom all day. Like you just have to go outside and let loose.
There are two good things on being outside. First is that there is quite new evidence that COVID spreads inside more than outside. So if you are outside, the risk is like 10 times lower or more.
Yeah.
And the second good part is that the sunlight can improve your vitamin D level. So sunlight is quite important to have a better immune system. So, and it's also very evidence based. So go outside and run there. And if you're in New York, the best way is that like 30 minutes. If you go upstate, you have Bear Mountains, and it's so amazing place. So I always go there like every 2 weeks. I get a train, go into mountains, and I'm just walking there with my friends, and it's amazing.
Yeah, we used to do that a lot. And now even in Connecticut, once we're there, we go to hikes, I would say twice a week, probably. We would do hikes, like legit hikes. And it's every time once I finish the hike, I just can't explain like how good I feel. It's just
Exactly.
it's that physical activity, but it's also that little bit of a connection to the trees and the earth and the views at the end, and maybe there's a waterfall you can jump in. It's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for people that live in big cities, I think that's the best way how to stay normal, how to not to be insane. So that's why I go to Japan every year. That's why I love to go for hikes, because I remember the moment when I moved to the US, I spent like 3 months in a row in Manhattan. And it was so crazy. It was so crazy. And then I realized I should leave this crazy city. And then I left for a whole weekend, and I went to Poughkeepsie. That's like near the Hudson River. And it was one of the best weekends in my life, because for the first time in those 3 months, I was outside of the city. So, guys, I recommend all of you, or to all our listeners, to really go outside of the city, like once a week or once in 2 weeks, and be there, sometimes alone, sometimes with friends. But being in nature is one of the best way how to relax and refill your willpower, because willpower works not just like a muscle, but it's like glass of water. And sometimes you need to buy a new glass because your glass is completely empty and drained. So, or sometimes I say that it's like the battery in your cell phone. Yeah, you are trying to recharge it, but if you have a bad battery, if the battery is broken, you cannot refill it. You need to buy a new battery. And for me, buying a new battery means to go to Japan for 4 months, weeks, and then I have new battery of my willpower. So,
100%. Yeah, there's something about nature. It's just it's not something you can really put your finger on, but I think it's something that we need. That's why people, they want to leave the city after a few months. It's something that you feel like you need. You can't even explain. Be like, I just need to go out. I just need to see some trees. I need to jump into a waterfall. I need to, whatever it is, even sit on a beach and just, watch the waves crash, whatever it is. People need that. And I feel like a lot of big cities have that. Like if you go even to LA, the beach is there. There's like canyons that you could hike. But New York is just really very concrete. There's just not a lot of nature options. There's some like man-made, obviously, some parks and stuff. But you just, I don't know, it feels very artificial and fake. It doesn't give you that same effect. So yeah, an hour drive upstate and you're there.
And it reminds me one study. They made a study in one hospital, and patients in that hospital. One group had a view into nature, and the second group had a view into concrete or something. And at the end, they realized that the group with the nature view, they were much faster in recovering themselves, and they had much more positive emotions. And the probable explanation is that whenever you are in nature, it decreases your level of the stress hormone cortisol, and stress hormone cortisol is like not that good for your health. It can really undermine your not just your happiness and mood, but it can undermine even your whole health system.
Yeah, and I even saw a study. I don't remember the exact details. A few years back, where areas in more impoverished neighborhoods that had trees and a park next to them had, I think it was like lower crime rates than, like the next block over where there was no park and no trees. So nature is it definitely helps, and whatever part of it you can grab, if it's trees, if it's a park, if it's the ocean, you just we need it in our lives. It's just it's innate.
Yeah, and
So
I have a weekend house that is in the middle of wood here in Czech Republic, and I was there like 2 days ago, and it's just in the middle of wood, and I had the best sleep there. And I was
really?
I was there as a kid during all my holidays with my parents, so it reminds me being a kid. So it's my probably the most. After Japan, of course, it's the most important place in the world.
How is the nature in Czech Republic?
In Czech Republic, it's quite the same.
Is it vary just like it is in the US?
Yeah.
Or
It's quite the same as that Bear Mountain, upstate New York.
okay,
it's the same weather and the same temperature.
so mostly forests.
Yeah, forests.
Nice. Yeah, because here in the US it's so varied, like because it's so big, you can go and you have, in the South it's a certain type of climate, and then in the New England it's more forest and cold, and you go out west, it's massive mountains, 14ers, and there's Utah and New Mexico and California, which have the deserts, and Pacific Northwest, it's lush. It's so varied and so different depending on where you go. That's why I think that's one of the things I definitely love about the U.S. is just the outdoors aspect of it. It's like, especially if you go out west, it's just so wild, from the bears and I don't know, bobcats and lions. Even though we had a bear in our backyard like a month ago, like a big black bear. So
really cool.
Yeah, just in the morning. He was, she was. I think it was a she, but she was pretty big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was just walking around, and then like a week later, our neighbor sent us a video of her walking with her cubs just up the driveway. So it's cute. It was fun. Like I wouldn't let the dogs out for like an hour, but it was fun.
Yeah, that's nature.
Yeah, man. I heard a story that you told in one of your talks, where you had a really scary experience on a plane. And I want you to tell us that story, and then afterwards, I guess the question is, I think someone can take that in two different directions, and I'd love to know which direction you took it. One can be trauma, like I'm never getting on a plane again because of what I just experienced, and the other can be, okay, I just experienced this, I'm alive. Statistically, this could never ever happen again, probably. And I should be fine from now on, and just take it as that kind of experience. So yeah, I'd love to hear the story.
Basically, I have two similar experiences, and they call them near-death experience. And first was that when I was like 19 years old, and it was like medical issue, and I was playing basketball, and after like few minutes, like right side of my body was completely paralyzed, and no one knew in that time what was that. And it was first in my life that I was facing my own death, and it was quite scary. But at the end, it really changed my life, because I survived that. After a few days, like 2-3 days, everything went back to the normal. And I remember that experience as one of the strongest in my life, because it changed my personal values. Since then, I'm trying to really focus on what is important. I really want to live a fulfilled life. I don't want to waste my time here. And the second experience was 2015, and it was quite similar. It was flight from Amsterdam to Prague. And after the takeoff, after like 20 minutes, our right engine literally blew up, and there was fire, and there was a state of emergency, and we had to perform emergency landing, and
like everyone's worst nightmare.
And you had to have your head inside of your knees, and you are waiting for the impact. And it was really, really scary, because it was very noisy, and people were scared. And what I was thinking in that moment was that, okay, I can die. I can. But if I survive, I really want to focus on what is really important again, and really ask myself, what are the main things that you can do for the future, for the better future. And when we landed, it was one of the strongest moments again in my life, but positive moments, because when you know that you are like outside of the risk, then you are quite happy, right? So since then, it's really refreshed the first experience. And since then, I'm really trying to live every day meaningfully and to the fullest. Sometimes it means that, okay, I go for a party, and I love to have parties, but I'm trying to be like mindful there, talk to people, and do something that is meaningful. And for me, it's to connect with others. And then when I'm at work, I'm trying to use my strengths to have positive impact. So that's why I'm not using email, because email is not my strength. My strength is to write another book. My strength is to do more keynotes or to do consulting. But I don't want to waste my time by meaningless activities or trivial activities. I don't want to waste my life with social media and with Netflix. So, for example, I have Netflix, but I only spend like, let's say, 2 hours during last 4 months. During the lockdown, I only spent 2 hours with my Netflix, because
Really?
I was working on a campaign. I was when the lockdown hit on the whole world, I was working on a campaign, hashtag masks for all. And we started the campaign here in Czech Republic. And after 3 days, like 90% of people started to wear face masks outside. And it was huge, because in the beginning, no one had a face mask. And it was much easier here, because I know those top influencers in person. So I sent the message to all my friends like, hey guys, take a picture of yourself in a face mask and share it with your audience. And out of 20 top Instagram accounts, like 10 of them shared the message. So basically, in 3 days, like everyone wear face mask, and it was huge. It was for me very strong moment, because we already knew in that time there was a lot of scientific evidence that it works and it can really stop the virus. And I think that this is one of those reasons why this country had so less casualties. As I said, only 350. So it's amazing. And after we changed one small country, I realized that we should send a message to the world. And at that time, WHO or American CDC were against masks. So we made a video with my friend, very beautiful girl, and we shared a message that everyone should wear a face mask, and we started a campaign, Masks for All. And after a few weeks, the campaign had a reach of 1.2 billion. So literally, it was everywhere. It was featured in CNN, BBC news, and it was in the beginning of the mindset switch around the world. So in the beginning, Czech Republic was the first country in Europe that made masks mandatory. And now like 70 plus countries have masks somehow mandatory. So it was so meaningful to me, but I spent like 2 months of my life like spreading the message about face mask. And I was like a little bit crazy in that time because I was only focusing on that, like 12 hours daily, masks for movement. And we had like thousands of volunteers around the world. But for me, that was the strongest period, really the strongest period in my life, because I had an impact and I was thinking that we can really save a lot of lives. So it was crazy era. It was very crazy. It were like those two months were very crazy, but I truly believe that hopefully we could help save some few or more lives around the world.
Yeah, and I think when you do something from a passion position or point of view, it's much easier to do it, right? It's that what's that line? If you do whatever you love, you're not going to work a day in your life. And it's really that, and especially when the goal is to save lives. I mean, where did this kind of come from? Where did this passion come from? Were you saying, okay, I'm going to dedicate the next X amount of months to try to put this mission statement forward so I can save some people's lives here and here and globally?
Yep, and I think it's all about connecting all those dots. For example, my key field of interest is critical thinking, so that's why I'm able to read all those scientific papers. So at the beginning, I made a complex analysis about all scientific papers about face masks. So without that skill, I would not be able to do that campaign. The second skill is networking. I have a lot of friends, influencers, and I have a huge network of people. So without that, I could not do that again. So, and the third skill, I think, is simplicity. I really love to explain things simply. So I made a video and I wrote the copy of that, and it was very simple. It was like everyone could understand that, the message that, and I'm the author of the claim, my mask protect you, your mask protect me. And it's very simple and everyone can understand and connect. So simplicity is one of my key skills or values. And I think that we need explain things simply in this complex world. And that was the key of our success, I guess, because it was evidence-based, but it was simple. And we connect with some top scientists, so it was based on their knowledge too. So, for example, we tested some materials and we realized that it works. So then we made a video.
So, Peter, before I let you go, I wanna maybe tap into a little bit of your insights. People now I think they're more stressed than ever. It's a very difficult time. They're at home. They got Zoom fatigue. The kids are at home. A lot of people lost their jobs and restaurants, especially here in NYC. When you'll come back, you'll see so many places have closed down. And it's a bit of a stressful time. And, with us being at home, we also tend to maybe procrastinate a little bit more because all these social media outlets are available to us, YouTube, Netflix, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is there something that we can do that is maybe the easiest or the most available to us that we can just start to do that will maybe lessen our procrastination and just make us a little bit more productive?
Yep. Do 20 push-ups daily. So you can do that. 20 push-ups is not that much. The second idea is to...
In the morning?
In the morning, yeah, in the morning. Then the second idea is to do a cold shower. It's in the beginning, it can be like 50% cold, then 75% cold, and then fully cold. But it can boost your immune system too. So during the Corona crisis, it's quite a wise idea to boost your system, the immune system. So 20 push-ups, cold shower in the morning. Then install the app, the Forest app. So whenever you want to focus, just use that app. And the thing that you can use on daily basis is to connect with others. You can always have nice discussions with your relatives and to really focus not on yourself, but focus more more on others. There is a lot of evidence if you are focusing on others, you have much more positive emotions rather than when you focus on yourself. So sometimes when you are depressed, you are sometimes too much selfish because you are thinking too much about your emotions and your situation. So, and whenever you go, for example, visit your relatives, and when you really focus on them, then you have much more positive emotions. So go outside, go for a walk. If you live in New York, go and take it through nearest train to Bear Mountains, and be cool, be positive, because I think that the mindset is like 80% of our happiness, maybe 90%. So we still live in a great world because all our ancestors, they had much more difficult situation. They had World War, they had plague, they had many other illnesses that are now out of the topic. So coronavirus is bad thing, of course, but still the world is amazing. So we can travel, we can connect with people. We have a Zoom. Come on, it's not a bad thing. Yeah, we can have this discussion. I am in Prague, you are in New York, and we can have this amazing discussion. And 50 years ago, it would not be a case. Yeah. So
no. Yeah, 50 years ago, when I would call my my cousin in Australia, my dad would be with a stopwatch next to the phone. All right, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. That's so expensive. He would be screaming at me. But I think like that's also very important to put things into some sort of proportion and objectivity, where we're technically living in the best time that humans have that ever lived. You know, we have food everywhere that's available to us. We have opportunity. We have the internet. We are unfortunately screwing it up in a lot of different ways, but all those things are available. For the majority of the world, we're still living in the best time that humans. There's still a lot of work to do and a lot of development, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. But we have quite a high level of freedom, so we can comment on social media. We can express our ideas. We can do this podcast. Come on, it's amazing. Yeah. Of course, you. There are some parts of the world that are quite sad to me. For example, Hong Kong and the case with the new laws about freedom of speech. It's quite sad. But I believe that the future will be bright around the world if we help people not to procrastinate and have their values and have a courage to stand up for those values. So I call this like personal heroism, and sometimes it's very important to be a hero in front of yourself. So to act according to your values. Sometimes it means that you stop next to accident and help someone. Sometimes it means that you have courage to step outside of the crowd and have a strong opinion on something, like strong moral opinion. And for me, for example, in these days, it's all about finding fake news, because I truly believe that the fake news is even worse than the coronavirus is.
So, the fake news is a huge issue. I don't know how it is in other countries. I know in this country, and the barrier to entry is just getting lower and lower. And the problem is it's twofold. On the one hand, the barrier to entry is very low, and anyone can have a media outlet on the internet and say that you're a news outlet, and you can put out whatever you want, even if it's just an opinion piece. It's portrayed as news. And on the other hand, like I said earlier, because the media outlets, the biggest ones, right, the Fox News, the CNNs, MSNBCs, they're so ideologically inclined to give you the agenda of the day. They don't really give you the raw data. They just they masquerade it as something that it's not, for the most part. And I just feel like fake news is so prevalent. And unfortunately, like I hate to use the term fake news because it's it's very Donald Trumpy, but it is happening. And like, that's not that I hate Donald Trump, but he is correct about the fact that there are a lot of fake news. And even, let's say, if he had the best idea in the world, the best idea, whatever it was, not that he hasn't, but let's say that he did, CNN, for example, would never portray it in a way that is objective, because they cannot get behind Trump. And again, it's exactly the same thing when Obama was in place. Like, the Fox News would never portray him in an objective way and in a good light. And it just sucks that they're so agenda driven that they just can't give people the actual facts, the actual journalism.
Yeah, that's why we all need critical thinking and to read maybe more sources, and at the end to ask for evidence, for example. And now the future will be even worse, because now you have AI that can really generate amazing videos with people.
Insane.
And they never said that you have those fake deep fake videos, and it's so good that you cannot recognize that it's fake. So the future will be about AI and fake news, and that's why we need critical thinking, because and we need to help people not to trust everything, because I think the case is that people, they and sometimes older people, they trust whatever ends in their mailbox, for example. So we have those chain emails with fake news that are spreading around the world, and sometimes I can recognize that it's photoshopped, but my grandfather that is 90 years old, he can't. So that's why he's believing a lot of conspiracy theories, because he don't have the skill to recognize what is fake news or what's not. So that's why I think that it's all about to have that kind of school subject to help people to help people on all sides. It's not one side or another. It's us, and we all should have better critical thinking all around the world. It's not like Republicans or Democrats. It's a problem of all countries all around the world.
Yeah. We're in the U.S. We're very self-involved. We tend not to look outside of what's happening in the rest of the world, and we think the U.S. is the end all be all and everything. And that's the problem, is because we export a lot of the culture from the U.S. So what happens here? Someone told me in one of the podcasts that when the U.S. sneezes, the rest of the world gets the flu, and it's true. To an extent. Yeah.
And that's why I moved to the US, because I want to have a positive impact. So I want to export my ideas to the US and then influence the whole world. That's why I live in New York. That's why I'm in Manhattan.
Yeah, capital. Well, Peter, where can people find you on social media, and where can they get your book?
Yep. My Twitter and Instagram account is at Petr Ludwig. You can note it somewhere under the podcast.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
And the name of the book is The End of Procrastination, and you can find it on Amazon or everywhere, I guess in all bookstores. And it has 20 translations, so you can read the book in whatever language. It has even Japanese translation. So
awesome.
We have some listeners from Japan. They can read my book in Japanese. So for me, it was one of the best moments in my life when I had a book launch in Tokyo in one of those big skyscrapers. And I was holding my book for the first time in Japanese, and I was thinking, this is fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
My book in Japanese, come on, that's cool. So you can follow me on my social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, or maybe Facebook, but as we said, Facebook is crap.
Yeah. Fuck Facebook. So yeah, man, I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was amazing. We connect so quickly, and I feel that we are old friends already, and we met for the first time. So, and I'm looking forward to meet you in person when I will be back in States. So we should have a beer together somewhere in Williamsburg. Yes, please. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. It was really a nice conversation. And I think that we really sum up some of main ideas behind my work and behind my book. So thank you so much for this.
Yeah, 100%. I think people will there's a lot of really golden nuggets in there and a lot of great insights. And I think if people listen to this conversation, there's a lot to take away. So just listen to the conversation, see what works for you. And again, I had a great time, man. I really... can't wait for you to get
And
back to New
take
York, and we'll catch
care.
up.
Yes. Take care, guys. Bye.
Peace, man. Out.